Hello everyone, my name is James Ryan and I'm here to teach you how to code. And along the way of me teaching you how to code, as well as teaching you the general basics of coding, which you can bring along to pretty much every other coding language possible, I'm going to also be making something with you in a specific language. We're going to be making a visualizer in processing with me. So let's go over what you're going to learn and what this video is about. And what these videos will be about. So in general, these general things are things that you are not just going to learn, that are not just going to be useful in what we're doing now, but apply to a lot of different things coding, all things coding. Okay? In general, you're going to learn how to code. Okay? You're going to learn how to use an IDE or integrated development environment. Actually, not really. I wrote this for a Flash tutorial game series, but I realized I should probably teach you guys basic programming first in a separate, more easier to understand series. So maybe a basic IDE, because processing isn't very graphic or visual in terms of the development environment itself. It's really just a place where you type code and press play instead of just using Notepad or something. And finally, you're going to learn how to make a visualizer. And the reason I put this under general is because there are many ways to make a visualizer, and there are many different programs you could use to do it. Processing is one of them, and what we do will give you ideas on how to maybe make your own visualizer, maybe even in another program. Okay? Because you're going to be learning how to code, and code is pretty similar across different programs. The only difference, it's like learning a very similar language. You know, the only difference is that all the words are different, but the way they structure together is pretty much the same. It's even easier with coding because the words actually are the same. So it's just basically, it's hard to explain. Most languages are very similar to each other. Maybe a few key differences you need to learn before you start coding, but after that, you should be fine. Let's talk about what you're going to specifically be learning. This is what we are doing right now. It's basically a more special case of what you're learning in general. You are learning specifically, we are going to be using processing. So you're going to be learning how to code in processing, which is based off of Java. And Java, as you may or may not know, is a pretty popular programming language. And pretty useful. It's one of the two main ones, along with C++. Java is pretty big. It was used to make Minecraft, if you know that game, which you probably do if you're watching my video, I guess. You're going to be using specifically, the IDE you're using is the processing IDE, which is pretty basic. I'll show you what it looks like here. It's just big space to write your code, and there's a few buttons at the top where you can do some things. And you're going to be specifically how to making an abstract visualizer. So yeah. Now, I should note that you are watching this tutorial on YouTube. So that means a few things, okay? So the first thing is, obviously, you can watch at your own pace. If you want to pause, stop, rewind this video, that's fine. If you want to skip ahead a little bit because you think you're ahead of the game, that's fine. But don't, if you don't know your stuff, then you just be skipping stuff that you don't know, and that's not good. You can always watch each video when you want to. You don't have to watch it as soon as it uploads, especially if you're asleep or something. So that's good. Now note that because it is YouTube, and I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not like a professional YouTube channel that gets paid via advertising. So these videos will be of amateur quality, but don't let that put you off, because they contain good content. I like to think of myself as pretty smart, and I know quite a bit. I know a bit of stuff, and enough stuff to have a whole series on teaching you the basics of coding with processing, and even some intermediate code. So yeah, so that's good. Let's continue. So that's good content. Now, I want to talk to you about Git and GitHub. I would like to tell you first about GitHub. I have put my code on GitHub, which means you can check out the code whenever you want. You can check out what the current code is, and you can see it for yourself. Because maybe you might have a hard time seeing it on the video. Hopefully not though, because I put this in 720p. Or you just want to look at it, without watching the video. You want to reference it or copy and paste it into your program if you just want to copy and paste, follow along kind of thing instead of writing it yourself. I don't know. Because it's on GitHub, it means that you can use the code however you want. Actually, no, that's. You can also, I've labeled them per episode, so there's a way for you to check out the source code per episode if you want to do that. That's good. And another thing about GitHub, it means I can share the source code and binaries with you. So that's good too. Now, I've given my code an open source license. In other words, it's copyleft. So what's copyleft? It's essentially what it seems like. It's the opposite of copyright. But it's kind of more copy. It's even more. It's not just neutral. It really is copyleft. Neutral would be, okay, I'm not putting a copyright on this thing. Anyone can use it for what they want. Anyone can use it for whatever they want. That would mean that they could then put a copyright on some derivative work of it. So they could take your thing, which is free for everyone, but then take it and turn it into something. Copyleft is essentially not just neutral, but anti-copyright. Copyleft means not only is this thing free and available for everyone to use, you cannot use it by yourself, and you cannot copyright it. And any derivative works cannot be copyrighted. Now, I am using a lesser version, so I'm using the GPL license, but I am using also the LGPL license in conjunction. GPL stands for Generic Public License, or GNU Public License, one or the other. Whereas LGPL stands for Lesser Generic or GNU Public License. Which means that if you are using the program, not a modification of the program, but you're just using the program as a library, then you can still use it along with your proprietary selling copyrighted source code, as long as you don't sell it, try to sell it. You only sell your own code, and you keep that code separate. You keep that code open source. Okay? So basically, you can share it with the world. You can use the code yourself, no problem. But you have to be sure to follow the rules. If you're not clear on all the rules, I probably haven't told you everything. You can take a look at my GitHub account. It gives a basic overview as I know it. But disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, so I might be completely wrong. So you might want to take a look at the legal stuff yourself, or at least get some resources that tell you what it is that maybe is slightly non-legal. Just so you can get the idea. Now, you remember I said I was using GitHub. Well, in order to use GitHub, I'm using Git. Now, Git is version control. Git is version control. And version control basically means I can keep track of how my code's doing. I can upload it in different parts, and I can merge things and modify things on the fly. It's very useful for working in large teams or if you're working with large amounts of code. It's not so useful for me compared to what it would be for someone who's using it for something bigger. But I'm using it for two things. I'm using it kind of because there may be a situation where I would want to go back to a previous version of the code because something I've added has stuffed everything up and I can't figure it out. But another reason is so that I can show you guys the code. Now, the thing about Git is that it is complex to use, and there are many different alternatives. You have to install it in your system to use it. Now, this is only if you want to install Git yourself. So you can download my code copy my code onto your computer and make your own fork and then upload it back to me. Maybe even send me a pull request. A pull request means that you've got code that you want me to implement in my program. And when you're installing Git, there are two different ways to install it. You can install it using Git Bash, which is its own standalone protocol thing. own standalone command line. It looks kind of like this. Or you can install it in the command path, which means that you can use Git from this command line thing, which you've probably seen around. I unfortunately decided to use Git Bash, and I'm not sure if I can reverse it, if I can change my mind. Probably could, but I'm just worried about losing all my Git files and stuff. I don't know. Now, on top of Git, you can also install other things. Once you've installed Git, you could use these command lines, or you can get a more smarter GUI-based program to use them for you, to work with them for you. So you can install something like GitHub for Windows, which is a special Git program made by GitHub, so that you can easily use GitHub and Git together on your Windows computer. Or you can install SmartGit, which works on other operating systems such as Mac and Linux, your choice. I myself, while I'm uploading, will either be using Git Bash because I feel like typing stuff for whatever reason. I don't know, I just like using the command prompt. Or I will be using SmartGit. Here are some important websites you may want to know. Then again, if you're just watching this to learn how to code and you don't actually care about following along, then that's fine by me too. But here are the important websites. Processing.org is the website where you can get and download processing from. Now, the latest version is 2.2 something, but I suggest you download 1.5 because there are a cool thing. I don't know. It's just I use another programming IDE which is based off processing and is very similar, called Arduino, and it's used to program Arduino robots. But you can also interface with the Arduino robots using processing, but it only currently works with the 1.5, and that's why I would recommend you download the latest 1.5 version. Okay. Obvious website. My YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/jamesusespivot. You're probably already there, but if you're not, if you're on an embedded site or something, go ahead and navigate your way here if you want to see the rest of my videos. GitHub.com is the place where GitHub is. So you can sign up there, perhaps try and using Git yourself. Take a look at it, you might be interested. GitHub.com/LeoCodeJames/processing abstract visualizer, spelt like so, is the website where my code repository is. It's where you can see all the code. It's where you can take a look at what I've done, either in the future before I upload, or or you can click to find out what I've done as of the episode you're currently up to by the end of it. The GPL and LGPL licenses I got were from gnu.org/licenses, and you can take a look at the licenses, the legal code for yourselves there. You can download Git itself, and note you do have to definitely download Git before you download any other Git-like programs to use with it. You can get Git itself from git-scm.com/downloads. And finally, you can get GitHub for Windows from windows.github.com, and you can get SmartGit from cintivo.com/smartgithg. And I'm assuming that the HG stands for Mercury. Just saying. Phew, so that's the introduction. That's pretty much episode 0. Thank you for watching. My name is James Ryan, and I've been your host. Peace out. Hope to see you in episode 1.